Joseph's family lived on a farm. They were sheep farmers. There were 12 boys. We don't know if there were any girls. There probably were some girls as well. Plus the mum and dad. So they were looking after lots of sheep, and the father would send the boys out to look after the sheep. Some of the boys were quite old. They're still living at home. And the boys were not all from the same mum, because the father had 2 wives, and he also had some other ladies who were in his household, and he had children from them, which is a bit different to how we do things today. And when Joseph was 17 years old, he was also very busy out working on the farm. He'd get up early in the morning, go and look after some sheep, take them to a nice paddock, make sure they were safe from wolves and other predators, make sure they all got back to the safe location for night. Sometimes all the brothers would work together. Other times they'd all have different parts of the farm that they'd go to. When he did go and see his half-brothers, because he only had one brother who had the same mother as him, called Benjamin, but he had other brothers, 10 other brothers who had a different mum to him. So we call that being a half-brother. Anyway, he'd go and he'd help them sometimes, and they'd look after a big flock of sheep. Here's a picture of some of the brothers. Joseph's brothers were not really good shepherds. In fact, they did some nasty things. They were a bit lazy, but they also did some cruel things. Sometimes they would take a sheep just for fun and they'd hurt it. They might make it so the sheep couldn't walk properly. They might cut it so that it couldn't walk, or that it was injured. Joseph would go back to the farm and he'd tell his dad. He'd say, "My brothers are not doing a good job." And so guess how the brothers felt about that? They were not happy. They were a bit annoyed at Joseph. He was already from a different mother, and now he's dobbing on them. So they didn't like Joseph that much. In fact, they couldn't say a nice thing about Joseph. But Joseph's father, whose name was Israel, liked Joseph. And he also liked Joseph's real brother Benjamin, because their mum was his favourite wife. Her name was Rachel. And so that also caused lots of problems when the brothers found out that their father didn't like their mother as much as he liked Joseph's mother. So that also meant that they didn't like Joseph. So there was a lot of problems going on in that house. But we do know that those older brothers got angrier and angrier at Joseph until they did something really bad to him. We'll find out what it was next week. Hi everybody. Now we've just heard a story, the very first start of the story of Joseph, which is great. And this activity has nothing to do with Joseph, but I did promise last week that I'd show you 2 ways to build a fort, and this is the second way, so I ran out of time last week. So here we are in a fairly ordinary looking lounge room, and to this we need to add some elements. Okay, so here's some elements. First of all, we need a little bit of height. Watch out, George. Stand back, George. George is trying to help me, but he's not really being helpful. So we need some height. I'm using a little step ladder. Try and use things that you can find around the house. And with a step ladder, I'll just nip out of, back in a second. Here are some important elements to go with the height, and that is some roofing elements. Ideally you have some wood lying around the house, perhaps, hopefully clean and not covered with dirt or spiders and things like that. And I'll get a second piece. We're trying to make a cubby that has space underneath it, and so Sliding that together there. And I think you can see where I'm going to go with this. The next thing, some sort of roofing material. And I've got some sheets here, which I will throw over the roof, throw over the wood. Okay. One sheet for this side. Oh. Gee, I really need to have another sort of thing here. Did I bring something else? Yes, I did. Okay. Here's another piece of something to hold up the roof that I found in our garage. Bit of metal. Actually, that I might only need the one sheet. Depends on how many entrances and things you want in your cubby. And then the other thing that I use, I don't know if your mum or dad have any of these in the garage as well, but these are really good for stopping things from moving, because the last thing you want to do is have someone dong their head on a piece of wood that's moved. And this also doubles nicely as a radio antenna. There it is. Pick up signals from all over the world, in fact all over the galaxy. In fact, I'm getting one now. Yes. Hello, Commander, is that you? Yes. Okay, you're on the planet what? Regulon. Okay, good. I'm going to climb into my spaceship right now. We're going to get there and be with you as soon as possible. All right. Okay, have fun building a cubby, and I'll meet you on the planet Regulon. See ya.